Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. Now, it has occurred to me as we sit here thinking about all this we've been talking about on this channel about Joel and James Harden and Philly and all that's going on there. It's become clear to me that we could be looking at a situation where it would not be incredibly strange to see the MVP be on a different team this upcoming season. I don't know how many times that's actually happened where a guy wins MVP and then ends up traded or switching teams, but I think this is one of those situations where I don't think that's crazy anymore. I don't think that's crazy anymore because of what we're seeing. Now, I don't know that Daryl Morey will be inclined to move Joel Embiid just in general. Obviously, the Philadelphia 76ers would rather absolutely not do that. But with him taking everything off the Twitter bio, as we've all talked about, and it's going on around the normal media sites, they're reporting this. It's important to consider the possibilities of where he may go, or what situations look like they might be reasonable in regards to teams that might want to trade for him. So that's kind of what I'm just kind of mulling over as I'm sitting here thinking about the situation. And to be honest with you, I don't know that there would be too many teams that wouldn't be interested, to be honest. We're talking about a guy who just came off of as we said, the MVP, and not to mention that he's been an MVP candidate for probably about 4 years straight. His team pretty much is a perennial all-star team every year, and he's somebody that has had a lot of regular season success, but in the playoffs, just like his teammate James Harden, the reputation is kind of that of somebody who's going to disappear in the big moments. You know, big, huge games, 50-point games in the regular season, all kinds of stuff. And then in game 6, you might get like 12 points out of him and he's lethargic or something. And so it's one of those situations where that's kind of capped off. I think the expectations for the MVP right now is, yeah, we saw you get the individual accolade, but we also have seen you get knocked off in situations where we felt you probably should have won. So that kind of makes you wonder if he's a winner. Yeah, is he a fantastic player? Of course. But can I get a chip with Joel? We could say his teams are always going to be contenders, but will they capture? And will it be because he leads them there? And so that's what he's going to have to answer. And I don't know that he is going to be able to answer that question in Philly anymore. And that's, I think, is what he's asking himself. Is there any chance I can still win a championship with this squad this upcoming season with all of this going on with James Harden? And having gone through this and all of the history that's going on with Philadelphia since even before he's gotten there, you just have to look at it with a certain level of skepticism. I look at how the fans reacted to some of the moves that were made in the offseason, and we talked about it on my channel as I referred to it. They were just basically doom and gloom. Everybody that I saw in the comment section of a particular post was just basically saying we don't have any faith anymore. We've seen this team year in and year out fall short, aim high, but reach basically nothing. And you've seen teams around you do better. You've seen the players that you've passed on go on and have greater success than you, and you just understand that those players should be in place. And so for me, I don't trust the Philadelphia 76ers organization. Never mind the drama going on with the team. And with credit given to them for not being a bad team at any given point, because they are all definitely good enough because of Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey and the moves that they've made to tease you with contention. So they have to be given much credit for that, because there are a lot of teams that can't even do that, right? And a lot of that had to do with the sacrifice of the process itself. So, they do need their credit as I speak, but at the same time, it's like, look, if we're not good enough, how do we get good enough? If I'm a Sixer fan, I say, I think you have to trade everything not named Joel Embiid and get the pieces that will either be that or draft equity in place so that you can organically bring yourself that, and hope that he'll be along for the rebuild ride, which I do not believe he is. So they can they can continue down this path, and if they didn't have this James Harden's problem, it probably would be worth it to see if they could maybe have a good winning season again, or maybe a playoff season. But given that they have this problem in place, and now that James Harden's value is likely going to plummet, they're going to get little to nothing for him, and Joel is doing what he's doing here, I don't know that the process shouldn't restart right now. I don't know that the Philadelphia 76ers are not going to now be forced, with Joel's unhappiness, to trade him, and then from there likely need to blow it up. And so that's where my head goes. Obviously, I'm not going to initiate that if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers by trading Joel Embiid if he doesn't demand a trade. If he doesn't demand a trade, I'm not doing any blowing things up. But I have to try to recalibrate all of these assets on my team completely. I've had too many issues with players not being happy on my roster, or me passing on players that I should have kept as set already. So what needs to happen is we need to reset. Now, in my mind, if I'm the owner, I need people in place that are going to be able to effectively get that stuff done. Now, I don't know that Daryl Morey's not the guy that you expect to get a good return for most of your stuff, but because of the personal nature of how things have gone in this specific situation, I propose that Daryl Morey probably should be traded if he can't fix this situation fired if he can't fix the situation with James Harden. It's not because Daryl's not a good GM. It's just because if the market won't work with Daryl, someone needs to be able to move my stuff around at cost. And as long as Daryl's the guy who has this problem in place, or the problem's in place because Daryl's the main character of the problem, whatever the case may be, I got to have somebody in place that can do with my stuff what needs to be done if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers owner. And what is the priority here is what I would ask that owner. Obviously, you're going to tell me winning. But I'm saying, what's the pecking order here? Who is most important in regards to what you want going on in your organization? Is it GM, Daryl Morey? Do you want him to be president? Is that what's going on there? If that's the case, give him the presidency and give him the keys to the car like you do Pat Riley. Then from there, he can have all the leverage and power he needs to make decisions that can reflect on his word, like James Harden is telling us it is. You know what I'm saying? Hey, this is the guy. The owner gave him carte blanche on everything. He promised certain stuff, and now he's reneging on it to his own risk, his own respect. It ain't the owner telling him he needs or not need whatever. This is his decision. If that's the case, if you have that type of pecking order in place, then it's an easy decision. You move on from James Harden at whatever cost, and you move forward with your president, etc. If James Harden was the goal, if he's the most important thing here, which doesn't make any sense, but just for the sake of that being the choice, we'll bring it up, then you got to pay him his money. And you don't ever do this to him to make him unhappy. If Joel Embiid is the priority here, then you've done a poor job of showing that as well, because it seems to me that you've brought all this stuff to him that he doesn't really believe in. And he's never told us that he really believes in any of the stuff that the Philadelphia 76ers have done. I don't think they've consulted much with him in regards to these moves. So I would say that there's no evidence that he's been the priority, right? And that is a problem. Moving on from there. So if you want to make him the priority, it's a little late for that. But the thing that needs to be done at this point is you need to remove Daryl Morey if you're valuing Joel Embiid. Why? Because Daryl Morey is the reason why everything around Joel Embiid is worthless, and you can't make any trades to get Joel Embiid the stuff that he needs to make this season a winning season for him. So the piece that's going to enable all of that to be better is Daryl obviously being out, so that this problem is not in place, so you can have the leverage necessary to trade a James Harden. Because, of course, James has now said that he won't play for anybody that Daryl's attached to, and thus this problem is in place. That is the problem itself. So that's why if you're valuing Joel Embiid at this point, Daryl would likely have to go. Unless James Harden would be inclined to retract all his statements and his trade request, as to which all these problems can now go away. But I look at Joel Embiid and I say, if I'm removing stuff from my bio, if I'm him, what I'm likely upset at is the fact that the Philadelphia 76ers brought James Harden to us knowing that he would likely do this, and it played out exactly the way we thought it would. And here we are about to ruin another one of my seasons ahead with another problem with another player that could have been prevented because all of this was predictable. That's my position if I'm Joel Embiid. That's exactly what I would be thinking if I was in his shoes right now. Like, I'm leaving because I told y'all this was going to happen. Not to say that I know he told him this, but I would have. I'd be like, look, you bring James Harden to me, and I know what he's going to do because he ain't going to be happy when he gets here because he's not going to be the number one. We've seen this movie a million times. And the whole situation with trying to pay him more than he's supposed to be necessarily worth, and it being I heard the soundbite from last year, the opportunity of a lifetime. He was talking about the contract that he knew he was going to get from making the deal for being with this team, opting in, getting traded to a team that would likely pay him, probably Houston. I don't know if he was promised anything in that regard, but we speculated about that earlier being the problem, and maybe that's what he was upset about. But nevertheless, that did not manifest in Houston, and now we're looking at a James Harden who wants out. Clippers can't make a trade for him, as I told y'all the Clippers wouldn't, because the Clippers don't have anything that Daryl Morey would be reasonable for taking back in a trade for James Harden, unless they want to move a player they have no business moving, like Terrence Mann or Kobe Brown. And so these are the things that the Clippers would have to do to make a James Harden trade, and that's just ill-advised on the Clippers' part. So it's like, where, for me, if I look at James Harden's position, I just ask James Harden, where were you lied to? Where was the lie? What was the lie? And what are you looking at that would make it so that you wanted to take it to this position, to this place? Because right now, you really have destroyed the Philadelphia 76ers franchise if they don't make a really, really quick decision on something that they're not prepared to do. Firing their GM on a whim, that is not an easy thing for a franchise to do, even if it's a decision they want to make. Hiring GMs is not like picking up players, so you got to know what the hell you're doing in that decision. It's not an overnight thing. So when KD demands that they get rid of the GM, I would tell KD, do you know what it looks like when I responsibly do so versus when I irresponsibly do so? And how that could trickle down to you still being unhappy if for some reason my hiring process doesn't go well. At least with Daryl Morey, I have someone in place that I know is a big name that I've paid, etc., good cachet. And if you don't do this, should likely be able to get me a good return for everything I have. You just tanked him. That's what you did by doing this, and I can't get rid of you to the betterment of me because of this too. So it's like, James, you destroyed their franchise. Now, in destroying their franchise, you also have destroyed any desire that anyone else would want to bring you to their franchise for that obvious same reason. So it's like, what does he want to have happen here? Now that we have an understanding that James Harden cannot become a free agent next season unless he does not hold out for 30 days per the rules in the collective bargaining agreement that was, from what I understand, this has been in place longer than the last two negotiations. This has been a mainstay. Basically, if you hold out for 30 days and you are on an expiring contract, if you don't show up, they can just say you refuse your services and thus did not complete the terms of your contract. And then you would not be able to enter free agency and thus would still have to be coming back the next season to play for that team. And from what I understand, because this is not just an NBA rule, but a FIBA rule as well, they will honor that if he tries to go overseas and play anywhere as well. So James Harden is in some real trouble if he decides to hold out because his contract is expiring, and this is the circumstance there. So I tell James Harden, you don't have the leverage you think you have unless you're ready to retire from basketball entirely. Right now, otherwise you be in a position where you can't even go get a bag somewhere else. If you, for some reason, want to go to Stephon Marbury route. So I don't think James Harden is in the position to fulfill what it is that he said, which is that he's never going to play for another Daryl Morey team. after he goes through the process of playing for the Philadelphia 76ers and then they trade him, he can then say that he ain't never coming back to a Daryl Morey team. But right now, if he ever wants to play basketball again, he's going to do it in a Philadelphia 76er uniform unless the Philadelphia 76ers say otherwise. So if they and now the thing is, as we understand, and this is his trump card, if they have to have him on the hook for $35 million for an extra year, why would that be in their benefit? It would not, unless they just want to be petty. Problem is, this is Philadelphia 76ers that was petty with Ben Simmons. They may just do that with James Harden, just to be petty, especially if it costs them Joel Embiid. Was to keep him from saying, yo, nah, he can play, but he gonna have to play for us. Because you gotta look at it like this. If they lose Joel Embiid because of James Harden, the best thing they got on their roster is James Harden. So likely, they're not going to be able to trade James Harden for everything we've already talked about, not only in this video, but for the last two. So the best thing I'm going to do if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers is tell James Harden to bring his butt back here. Because if you play up to the value that you can, I can trade you for what it is you're supposed to be traded for. If you walk, especially disgruntled, that would be my benefit because I could at least have that $35 million, but I can't even let you walk because of this problem if you hold out. So I may be inclined to just waive your rights entirely and let you go and walk anyway. So that is what James Harden could say. You're probably just going to let me walk anyway. But it's a risk. It's a risk, and I don't know. With that team being as it is, Joel being unhappy, if they do effectively trade him, it may not be nothing for them to just be petty to James Harden for no damn reason. It wouldn't be the first time they had the fans on the hook for nothingness for no reason. It wouldn't be the first time. So, yeah. That's who suffers from all this, the fans, man. I'm telling you, that's why these videos are relevant to me. Because as a Laker fan, I'm very blessed. When I say blessed, thankful, very blessed that my team is doing well right now during a time in my life where I don't need to be angry about my team. Where I am in my life, I would be miserable if the Philadelphia 76ers was a team I was a diehard of. And I had a channel focused on the Philadelphia 76ers and that crap. Hell no. This would be miserable. Life would be a lot more angry. And so that's what I'm telling you guys. Like, yo, Philadelphia 76er fans are going through that. It looks like the tunnel is just going to continue to be dark. I don't see nothing down the end of the road but more bad and likely more bad decisions. And I just think that if they do rebuild, if these same folks are in place, I don't have a whole lot of faith that they're even going to build properly. I would feel great if the Philadelphia 76ers gutted everything. I mean, everything. Even the ownership. Please, thank you. Sell the team. Like, I'm serious, man. Everything new, man. Because right now, the DNA of what it is that they're really about is in everything that's gone on over the last several years. It's always some drama or some chaos with a player or some decision that, like as already said, that just should not have been made. And it's always Joel Embiid that has to come in and lug the team like Goliath and a bunch of their drama to come along with it. I mean, it's just not any good for him or the fans. And at this point, that's really all it's about. That's all it's about. The Philadelphia 76ers are not a new team. They've been a fan base and had their franchise in place for over 50 years. So they likely are fed up to a degree that a lot of fan bases have not yet experienced. And so that's what I'm here to say as well. I just don't know how much support they're going to have left for that team, especially given who they are and what they've done, how they boo people. So I don't know how much support they're going to have for the Philadelphia 76ers if they lose Joel Embiid. That's what I got to say. I just don't know. The people are going to be diehards, but I'm telling you, you can be a diehard and not spend a single dime on something. Trust you me, you can be a diehard and just miss the game and watch the highlights later on. You know what I mean? Literally, I've watched basketball that way because my team sucked that bad. And so that's what it really comes down to. I don't know how Philadelphia feels about that. Obviously, I'm a spoiled Laker fan, so we've seen higher highs. But at some point in time, you just got to say, this team is not headed in a competitive direction. And they're trying to drag along one of the most important players in the league. And it's enough. Enough, Philly. Enough. So that's what I have to say about them. I don't think they're going to be able to make a trade that they want to make. I'm not expecting no blockbuster or nothing like this one, unless Daryl Morey and the Philadelphia 76ers are willing to take back less for what they have right now. It's the only way going to move anything. So that's what I see. Obviously, there's more to see behind the scenes, and there's one aspect of these conversations that need to be taken into account, and that is agents forcing things to happen. It is the ultimate trump card, and I don't know where that begins or ends. So I likely don't work it into my equation as much as maybe reality would have it so. But I'm telling you this, even if an agent's trying to push certain things from behind the scenes and levying his ability to make things happen in the future with prospects that could be coming down the road, if somebody wants to be able to lay it like that on the line for James Harden, that would be a surprise to me at this point based on James Harden's track record. I just don't know who's going to be willing to fall on the sword for him at this point, especially if he's not going to properly assess his own value. And I think that's what went wrong here initially, and it still seems to me that he's ready to blame other people instead of recalibrating and getting with the times right now. And I've seen so many mistakes. I've seen guys like Dennis Schroeder make mistakes. James Harden himself has already made these type of mistakes where they just don't have their value in mind correctly, and they think the world sees them a different way than what they are, or don't read the market correctly. It is what it is. Whatever the case may be, you just got to learn from other people's mistakes. I don't think James Harden should go down this road. I don't think he should go down this road at all. I think he should get on stage and apologize for what he said about Daryl Morey, even if he means it. Even if he means it, hear that part. I don't care if he means it or not. He needs to get up there and make his name right, because at the end of the day, he's doing more damage to himself than he does anybody else. And if he's not wise enough to see that, he's going to continue to do that. And so that's just really what it comes down to. I feel that way because at the end of the day, he's trying to get himself to extend his career in basketball, and he's losing money doing this. He's losing money the way he's played his free agency over these last several years. And now he's going to have to embrace what I call the Russell Westbrook pay scale, which is people are going to bring you all the way down to role-playing money now. Because that's the only money that anybody would really feel safe in giving a guy like James Harden for the trouble that he's worth, coupled with the age he's going to be coming into. And when I say trouble he's worth, it's all of these problems. Demanding out and not showing up at the end of these playoff years. Team's supposed to be up, expecting championship success, and he folds in the big game. Like, that kind of stuff is to be expected at this point, including injury possibilities and defensive deficiencies. You got to be real about your price tag, bro. Going into your 33rd year on Earth, and what year is this in his career? Maybe 12 or something like that. Got to be real about what people expect you to do. And the only way he's going to be able to get his value back up is if he gets to cooking like he used to back in the Rockets days. That's it. He got to put people in the blender and cook again. If his body's not going to allow him to do that, then he's going to have to respect we all see that and going to price him accordingly. If you can't cook like that, you can't get paid like that, bro. It is what it is. I personally think James Harden should be selling himself as an efficient free throw shooter, facilitator, three-point threat. That's how you should be selling himself at this point. You know what your limitations are. Stop expecting people to play $60 and $70 million, whatever the hell he's expecting. Stop that nonsense. Because what that really do, it put you in the $4 million range, when you could have been hovering in the $22 million, $30 million range. This is the stuff that dudes end up screwing themselves over. His next contract would likely be in the $16 million range if he never did any of this. Now, four a year. I'll give you 4 a year for your efficiency. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, fam. What is James Harden doing himself? So am I saying that Daryl Morey just definitely didn't lie to him and that he did? No, I'm not saying that. I don't know. For all I know, Daryl Morey is exactly whatever. But what I'm saying is you got to cover your own backside. You got to know when you make yourself look worse, when you take your own situation. And in response to you losing money, you're going to do something to make you lose more money? Who you mad at? You and Daryl both doing the same thing to you. you tanking James Harden's money together. So if that's what you're mad at, then how mad do you have? How much anger should you really have for Daryl Morey? That's what I say to James Harden. It needs to be an intervention moment at this point. It's like, yo, bro, come on, man. People talk about what he does in his personal life, and granted, that's his business, man. But the reflection of those rumors versus this circumstance is just pure irony to me. And I think that even if those rumors are false about him throwing so much money at the strip club, you know what I'm saying? That you know what I mean? It's like at some point in time, it's like, yes, things can be fought about on principle. But brother, if you gonna do nothing but throw your money away any damn way, what are we really mad about? Like, these are things that we just gonna have to question. And so for me, it's just like, James Harden, bro, I'm telling you, I know what type of basketball player you are. You're better than people think. I really believe that. He's better than people think. I think he can help units win. And if you put the players on the team that can do the things you don't expect him to do, they definitely can win. That's basically what I'm here to say. You just got to know where to slot James Harden. You got to use him properly. If he's used properly, he'll be an amazing weapon. But you got to use him properly, and that has to be specifically defined. And so that's really what it comes down to. If you don't put James Harden in the right situation, then it's not going to work. And he has to be willing to be who he needs to be in that situation, just like everybody else. And it can't be, I want to leave every time something doesn't go my way, or every time I do something that's a mistake on my part that other people may have been able to take advantage of, and then from there it all falls apart and I'm mad at them. It's like, nah, I did some things wrong too. Maybe if I'd have been looking at this and this the right way, that would have never happened. So let's just get back to business. You did what was in the best interest of you. Now let me get back to improving my value so I can get back on the court and getting the money that I can get. Instead of going on this rampage, empty rampage, all it's going to do is put a magnifying glass on my own weaknesses, because that's what everybody's going to point out. When I point out that so-and-so is a liar, they're going to point out that I'm such and such and don't get things right too. And so it's like, what are you doing, bro? You're trying to raise your value up. And all you're doing now is picking a fight with people who are going to send shots back at you to further dilute your value. So if you're not ready to retire, this is an ill-advised move, in my opinion. Unless it's meant to just simply bring attention to the league, as to which you're doing a great job because you're giving us something to talk about. I'm very happy about it. And I always leave room for the cap, but I don't know. I don't know about him going to China and saying whatever he said about that man in front of all those people, knowing the circumstances of this era and how they feel about him and what he said. It's just not, that's dangerous, dare I say. I don't want to take it outside of sports, but when you tell a bunch of people that you have now turned on a person that they don't like, you just rile up and you remind all of them why they don't like him. You start having new people ask questions about why we don't like him. And that is not a good thing, man. Not for the safety of Daryl Morey, honestly, based on what it is that he said several years back. So I just feel like that's a low blow. That's like off. That's why it's a personal move. It's like, yo, essentially he went to his, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but he went to people who opposed him and talked bad about him. It's kind of crazy given the fact he's supposed to be his friend. What does that say about you? You know what I'm saying? If I'm James Harden's homie, I'm like, damn, that's all it takes to have you turn on me like that? Got it. So it's just a lot of stuff that James, I don't think he's looking at all, because he's heard about how this went. And I don't know if this reflects poorly or whatever. Maybe I'm reading too deeply into it, but I just don't think he's looking at it the right way. I don't think so. If what is there to see is what is there to see, he's hurting himself more than he's hurting Daryl Morey. And he's going to walk away from the situation not any closer to getting what he wants, which is opportunities to play basketball, the game he loves to play. He's essentially throwing that game away. And I don't think he really sees it that way. But he's going to have the risk, not the risk, the threat of retirement be in his back pocket as leverage right now. That's what he's going to need. Just like Ben Simmons needed that, he's going to need that. Because if they don't think you're going to retire, or you're not prepared to retire, that's exactly where this is headed. So I don't know if he's ready for that. But That's my point of view on this James Harden thing right now, man. I don't know if there's anything else to add to the situation, given the fact that there's still no trade um, in place, so we haven't heard anything in regards to what type of packages may be available after this latest event has taken place with Joel Embiid taking his all of the stuff off his Twitter handle. I'm telling y'all, that affects the price tag on everything Daryl Morey has. I'm telling you, when people think Joel wants out, they're like, okay, well, I was gonna offer 3 picks for him, but or 8, whatever the picks would be, 7 picks for him. Now I'm only gonna offer 3. So this type of stuff is a problem, and I don't think it's fixable. I don't think it's fixable. That's why I propose that they fire Daryl Morey. It's the easiest way to fix this. And it's a hard, that's not an easy thing. It's a very difficult thing. But to me, it keeps Joel in place. It keeps James in place. It keeps you in a position to where if you want to trade those guys, the price ain't crazy with this problem attached to it. Maybe what you have to do. This sucks, y'all. I'm going to tell y'all something. I'm the owner of the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know that I'm not going to do it this way. I'd probably just fire Daryl Morey, but secretly have him running things behind the scenes. If I still trust his mind, but I need him out of place so that this problem is in place. So I fire him, keep him around, let him still help me make the same decisions, just not as the GM. They have to be talking to somebody else. It can't be James Harden, Daryl Morey, the problem, and it costs all this. You know what I mean? It keeps me from getting 3 and 4 pick swaps in a trade for Joel Embiid. Hell no, I can't let that happen if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers. So that's one solution. You know what I mean? Fire Daryl Morey. you gotta fire him, dude. Or you just gotta accept that you're gonna take back less and live with it. And just suck for it. I mean, it's always a solution. Just go back to the toilet. You be the 76ers. You always been. Win 30 games a year. Maybe get lucky and get you a Joel Embiid again. It's basically what everybody expects from you any damn way. You know what I'm saying? And that is why I'm not going down that path if I'm the Philadelphia 76ers without revamping my entire front office. If I'm doing that, everybody's out of here. Nobody gonna be left over. We're gonna revamp the whole damn thing. Only thing left is the colors, as I've said once before. That's the only thing left. Only thing left is the colors. Let me get rid of everything if I gotta rebuild again as a Philadelphia 76ers after going through that process and this is all we come up with. Hell no. So that's it, man. That's what I gotta say, man. I'm looking forward to Joel Embiid giving us more to talk about because I know he's probably gonna continue to do little subs. I hope for his sake he doesn't demand a trade because that will definitely keep him from being traded. I can't stress that enough. But if he goes behind the scenes, tells Daryl Morey he wants out, I would not be surprised. I wouldn't expect him to get traded right away, but I wouldn't be surprised if a trade demand is in place behind the scenes and we don't know about it. But I would tell him, don't expect that would be enough to get you traded because unfortunately, because the James Harden problem is in place, they still gonna probably lowball you for a trade for Joel Embiid. So Joel needs to understand that he's not the problem in the leverage issue. So long as James Harden retracts his things that he said. But as long as James Harden's in place, everything Philly has value. It's not what it should be. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching. I'm out.